Hey everyone, I'm checking out the chat. Everyone's really excited to hear from Glamnetic and this panel. So we're about to bring it. We're excited to be here. My name is Sarah. I wear a few hats. I contribute to Forbes fashion and beauty content. I'm the founder of Simply and the Moms and Babes box, which is a quarterly subscription box. And I am currently at Socialite, which is an influencer marketing talent agency. And that's a little bit about me. I'm here to moderate today. I've got two incredible panelists. First, I'm going to introduce Kevin Gould. He's going to talk a few minutes about some of the companies he's an investor in. He owns Combo, which has multiple companies underneath. So I'll let him tell you a little bit more about himself.
Awesome. Hey guys. Well, thanks, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you. And I know we've known each other for a little while, so it's good to be reconnected through this. Hey guys, my name's Kevin Gould. I am Anne's co-founder in Glamnetic. Outside of Glamnetic, I'm also the founder and CEO of a company called Combo Ventures. Kind of a quick background on myself. I have a pretty kind of interesting blend of entertainment and brand building and investing experience. So about 12 years ago, I actually started in the mailroom at WME, which is a talent agency. And I was working with a lot of talent that was more on the traditional side on TVs and movies. And then over the years, I moved into managing influencers. And then a few years ago, I really wanted to start building my own brands. And so launched the first brand with my two co-founders, Sharon and Jordan, who were the first two employees at ColourPop, called Cosmetics, called Insert Name Here, which is a women's hair brand. And then Anne and I teamed up in July of 2019 to launch Glamnetic and came on board with Anne, and then have a third brand called Wakeheart, which is a fragrance and candle brand, which I built with the Dolan twins, who are two big social media influencers. So really excited to be here and chat and excited to chat about everything.
Thank you. Yes, and I think I actually featured one of your brands in Forbes. It comes full circle.
You hooked it up. You actually did a write-up super early on INH, the hair brand. So always appreciated.
All about connections. That's why you guys are here today. Okay, and then we also have Anne McFerran, co-founder of Glamnetic. So if you want to say a few words just about, what took you to creating Glamnetic. I know you started as an artist. Take us back to your early days to creating the company and how you've really built this business over the last few years.
Yes, good question. Yeah, just a little bit of background about myself. I was actually born in Bangkok, Thailand. I'm an immigrant, so shout out to all the immigrants out here. And I immigrated over here when I was 7 years old with my single mom. And we moved into Northern California. And then later on, I gained admissions into UCLA. And I actually became a pre-med major, which a lot of people didn't know about that, because I'm obviously in beauty, and so it doesn't make sense. But I think that your path, as a student, doesn't really matter. It doesn't really inform your trajectory later on. So I was a pre-med student, and my major was psychobiology. And then I graduated, and I actually realized I was more of an artist than anything. My mom was an artist. I'm left-handed. I sort of had this natural inclination towards it, and a natural a talent that I think a lot of people were like, you should definitely be an artist. And so I started basically selling paintings right out of college. And actually sold my first commission for $10,000, and I thought I made it. I was like, this is the most money I've ever seen in my life. And I couldn't believe that I could sell a painting for that much. And that's when I thought, wow, I should be a full-time fine artist. So I actually pursued that path. I didn't want to have any regrets. I didn't want to go to med school and then realize I actually want to do something else. And so I explored the path of being an entrepreneur for the first time. That was sort of my toe dip into entrepreneurship. And then I realized that it's actually pretty lonely doing that. It was very lonely. It was a hustle, it was a grind. I had to hustle for my next projects. And especially being a female in the industry, it was really tough. I think people look down on you. And over about 4 years, I was doing that. I showed at the LA Art Show. I sold my commissions worldwide. I started an art Instagram page and started growing a following on that. And so, through growing the following on my Instagram, I, understood how content works, content marketing, and how to sell stuff online. But I did realize that it wasn't scalable. I was like, I can't pay somebody else to paint my paintings for me. I'm the artist. And so I kind of felt like enslaved to my job in a way. And it was also backbreaking work because I was doing murals and I was spending like 8 hours a day, like painting, like it's really bad for my back. And so I realized I wanted to build a brand. I wanted something scalable where I can actually put my creativity into something and then millions of people can touch it and get to, get their lives impacted by that product. And so that's when I was inspired to start a brand. And I thought, what kind of products could I create that I'm super passionate about, and one of the main things for me, since I moved to the US, I had like very low self-esteem moving to the US because I was basically the only Asian person in my school. And so growing up, I sort of had this like, I don't know, the way my eyes looked, I was sort of like very self-conscious about it. And when I put lashes on for the first time, that was when I didn't feel like low confidence anymore. I was like all of a sudden, like my confidence level was like up to here. And I didn't realize like the transformational power of like beauty. And I sort of became addicted to lashes from day one. I started wearing lashes like every single day and basically my entire life up to that point. And so in my own way, I was an expert in lashes because I tried like every brand and tried every type of lash. And one of the things when I looked at the market, in the lash market, it was, there was a lot of brands in the lash market. I think a lot of people would say that it's saturated, but one of the biggest things that wasn't a problem that people were fixing was that it was very difficult to apply. You have to apply like glue, which is really toxic and has all these carcinogens. And you have to put that on your eye. And none of my friends knew how to apply lashes, like to save their lives, like literally could not. And so I saw like magnetic lashes become a thing. But I also saw that the execution was really poor, where, they're traditionally the old magnetic type of lashes were basically a top layer magnet, a bottom layer magnet, and then your natural lashes would get sandwiched in between, like clamped like this. And so it would kind of fall off and then it would look weird. It was just like being wonky. And I was like, this is a cool idea, but it's just not executed properly. Like, how can I improve on this? And I just became super obsessed about it, the way that like I would sort of conduct a science experiment like in the lab. And I just went really crazy online and started like looking up on the manufacturers and then like trying to source the products that I had envisioned, which was glam lashes, first of all, because the type of lashes that were out in the market at that time were like really thin and plasticky and they did not have any volume. And so I wanted glam lashes and I wanted like small little magnets glued on the lash band and some sort of thing to apply it with. And so that became the magnetic eyeliner. And so I started sourcing everywhere. I literally looked at 300 different manufacturers and ordered from them. And basically it took about a year and a half for R&D. And I just taught myself everything because nobody was there to teach me anything, but the internet was there. And so I was just watching a bunch of like YouTube videos. I was going literally on every single website to see how I can learn how to do this. And honestly, all the information's on the internet. There's literally no excuses because I literally had zero background in this. I think I just had the will to do it and like the passion. I think those are the only two things you really need nowadays, and all the information and all of that is out there. And so, yeah, basically we came to our final prototype. And that's when we launched end of July of 2019. And that was when Glamnetic was born.
I love it. That's fantastic. And if anyone doesn't know, can you explain like
how it works?
How you paint? Yeah.
Like exactly. So, I know for the males out there. So basically the eyeliner is magnetic. It has like iron oxide in it, which has magnetic properties. And then the lashes have small little magnets on them as well. So you basically skip the glue completely. Girls already wear eyeliner like right above their lash line. So you're just going to basically apply it like normal eyeliner. You just replace your normal eyeliner and then you magnetize the lash down. And that's it. It's like so easy. And so it basically just takes out that step of having to apply your normal liner and having to apply the glue. There's like no wait time in terms of like waiting for the glue to dry, and they hold all day, and you can actually get up to 60 uses with them because there's no glue to clump up on the lash band. So it's just like also more sustainable option as well.
Genius. So I know you found a lot of success and attributed to marketing. So we're going to dive deep into a lot of different marketing tactics that you guys use while building Glamnetic. So I guess first, I mean, both of you guys can weigh in on this because, you know, you both have different input, you know, depending on the topic. But first, I wanted to talk about the rising acquisition costs. Can you both kind of give your perspective on both sides of the business about how you're overcoming the increased acquisition costs and how you found success?
For sure. And I guess for more context for anyone that may not know out there, a few months ago, Apple did the big iOS update, and through that, Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok and all the app platforms lost a lot of data overnight, and it's really, really hurt particularly e-commerce businesses when it comes to ad buying. And so over the last few months, I know for us and all our founder friends in the space, when you lose that much data overnight, it's definitely a big challenge. And so what we've thought a lot about is kind of getting back to the basics. Like, I think when we think back to when we started and we launched the brand, and Anne can kind of touch on this a little bit, we did a lot of things that I think made a huge difference today when it came to community building and direct contact with our customers and like live commerce, which we're doing now. And there are a lot of other things that we were doing, because the reality is there's not one thing that's going to replace the scale that a Facebook has. And so for a brand like us, who's obviously reached scale, we need to find 20 other things and do those other 20 things really, really well to get that same scale that maybe a Facebook gives. And for someone that's an early stage brand, all of the things that we did in the beginning to start the business are still super applicable to anyone starting the brand. I think Anne can kind of weigh in on, a few of the things that we did really early on that we still practice to this day that are very impactful.
Yeah, and I think like not raising money in a weird way for us like benefited because we had to do a bunch of those things like Kevin mentioned, where it was very much like hands-on. Like I was super hands-on from day one because I was the only like full-time employee in the company. And so that meant, content marketing, like posting on stories, like, and I never let stories expire. Like that's one of our things is like never let stories expire. So stories are running 24/7. So you're always having to put content up. You're doing like 3 feed posts a day. And that's just on Instagram. And then we have like other platforms like Facebook that we posted on. Obviously TikTok was new, Twitter. Like you kind of have to be active on every single channel. And I was like a one-man show. And then doing customer service and like talking to the customers every day about like, oh, what's wrong with the product? How can I improve it? And so that helped me in the beginning to like quickly improve the products where I saw there were errors. Like in the next batch, I would make the improvements based on like what their feedback was. And so then the product just, through iterations got better and better and better. Also like being in the DMs was one of the things, like we do DM sales. And that was actually how we got like our first $20,000 in sales was me like DMing every single customer, anybody that followed us on Instagram. That's a warm lead for you, to go in and like literally message all of them, go, hey, like, let me know if you have any questions. And then the people that answer, you can go, basically offer them like a discount code, like with their name. And I would make their discount code with their name, like on Shopify. It would take seconds to do, but it was just like, it's very manual, labor intensive, but I think it allowed me to understand the customer really deeply very early on, like what makes them want the product, what's sort of objections they might have. And so then later on, as we're growing and we're creating like a sales landing page, I know the objections that people have and can talk about that in detail on there. And so it becomes like a higher converting page, like they all kind of I think a lot of founders, though, I don't know, maybe they outsource from the beginning, and I think that's the issue. For me, like I was very hands-on on all of the creative, and I actually did all the photography myself as well. Like I set up the studio, like a mini studio inside my house, like bought all the stuff on Amazon, like the ring lights, the strobe light, the camera, right? And then just like watch a bunch of YouTube videos on like how to shoot with proper lighting, and then shot like literally all of the campaigns from day one, like from launching. And so we saved a lot of money on any photo shoot costs. Now we outsource it and we you know, pay other people. And I'm like, wow, that is so expensive. There's no way our brand would have been able to afford any of that. So I'm glad that I was able to do in the beginning, but now I couldn't, because it's just like I can't do 100 people's jobs anymore. But I think from day one, though, as a brand founder, you should, because then you learn all of these little intricacies, like, oh, what does better on social? How do you communicate with the audience? Like, well, who is your audience? And then when you hire people, you can tell them, you know, exactly how to do it because you've done it. If you hire somebody and you've never done it, you're kind of going in blind. You can't tell how they're doing a good job. And I think so all of that kind of lends itself to like you understanding your employees better too, and how to help them. Because a lot of times you're like, especially if you've never done the job, you're like, I don't know how to give advice. I'm sorry. Like you have to figure it out. And that's not being a great leader. And yeah, I think like doing that also makes you be like very close to the community as well. Like I was up on stories every single day. Like I wasn't paying any models. I wasn't paying any influencers to be on stories. So I had to be on stories and be like, oh, like these are how the lashes work. And like every single day I would do the same thing and talk about the lashes and, you know, the products and stuff like that. And also tell my story and be very vulnerable about like, what is the process of starting the business? That everybody knew that I was like starting this from scratch. And I got so much support from my early customers, like my first 5 customers. I still remember who they are, and they all like still talk to me, and they're like, oh, like I really love this, and I could tell you guys are gonna be successful. Like I had one customer write like a really long feed post, literally like 5 paragraphs. It was just how like enamored she was about the product and how she thinks that we're going to be big one day. And this was like literally day 2 of like me selling the product. And so that was super flattering. And that gave me like a lot of like drive and motivation to continue. And I think all those little things also layer in, and it keeps you very motivated and hungry to like do better, because you're like, wow, I'm seeing momentum. I'm seeing that people are liking the product. Even if it's 2 people, you're like, wow, like I feel motivated, you know? And now we have like hundreds of thousands of customers, and it's crazy. But I think it's like those small wins in the beginning that you need to hold on to. That's going to keep you, you know, driving forward.
I was gonna say, Anne, I think there's a couple key points on what you said to re-emphasize there to everyone. On the DM side of things, that is the most low-hanging fruit for any early stage founder out there that's very underutilized, and it doesn't cost money, right? So where there is a barrier to entry right now on Facebook ads are really expensive. To Anne's point, like turning DM into a sales prospecting channel for your brand is really, really important, and you can actually drive real sales through it. But more importantly, I think like going back to having a pulse on the business, you know, even like making sure you have your Shopify on, so you see every single sale that comes in, and then you go in each sale and see what types of people things are buying and where are they coming from, and like how are they bundling and buying products together. Having that early pulse on the business is really important for laying the foundation of building for the future, because you never want to lose your gut instinct or pulse on the businesses you build. And those are all things that are extremely important early on. And I think, you know, the other thing that Anne mentioned, she did really well, was just being like the founder face. And again, that doesn't cost you money as a founder to hire yourself to be the spokesperson for the brand early on. And so that's really low hanging fruit for anyone out there that needs to kind of get a story behind their brand.
Absolutely. I was going to touch on both of those as well. And I think you just create that connection, and they're supporting a business that they know who's behind it. They know how you're sourcing everything, and you're responding to DMs. Like, how cool is that for a customer? So I love that. And also I am shocked that you did all of this manually, responding to DMs, at creating the promo codes, all of those things.
I didn't have a life. That's fine. Like, I think that's the best part is like, I've never wanted anything more in my entire life. And that was when I knew like this was going to be successful, because I was like, I literally will not stop until like this thing is successful, and I've never felt that feeling in my entire life. I guess that's what people say when they have a baby, is like that love that you have. It was the same thing like with Glamnetic. It's like, this is my baby. And so I think you're willing to put in the hours, and I literally worked like every single second of the day.
Wow.
And so I think there's no balance for like the first, 2 years basically. And so it started really like doing well. And then I think that's kind of what you have to have. Like, you have to have that drive to do it. Otherwise, it's really hard to succeed in today's climate, unfortunately, with like rising acquisition costs and competition and all of that. So, but if you have that like fire willpower, like you're going to get through anything. And I think like anything is possible. You just have to want it.
I agree. Speaking of, how did you two meet and come together?
Yeah, we actually met on a photo shoot at the other brand, and Anne was friends with the other co-founders and the other co-founders, and we met on an INH photo shoot, and then so we linked up when Anne was developing the brand, and then we partnered up basically in the first month or so after Anne launched, and it just I feel like we knew from the start, and maybe Anne can speak to it too, but I feel like we knew that we had a lot of complementary skill sets. And I think when you're looking for a co-founder or someone to partner with, you really need someone that balances you out. And so Anne really covered everything like product, social, content, creative. And I kind of handle everything that's like ops, finance, supply chain, logistics. And I think we're both pretty strong in marketing in different ways. We meet in the middle a lot on marketing, but it's been a great partnership. Like, I don't think we've ever had an argument about the business, and it's been a great 2 years.
Yeah, I think we got really lucky to find each other, because I think it's very rare that like I feel like your business partner is like match made in heaven in terms of like literally perfect complementary. Like he's in his lane, I'm in my lane. We don't butt heads at all. We come together on like big decisions, but like when it comes to, like ops and finance, he's like the man. And then when it comes to everything else, I'm like, I do that. So it's just, it works perfectly.
That's a really good point. You have clear, defined roles. So I think that is, for people listening, making sure before you go into business with someone or partnering, having those defined roles. So there are less headbutting and disagreements, because you each are, kind of in your own lane, which is great.
100%. Encourage anyone to, it's really hard to go at it alone. I would encourage everyone, if they can, to find a co-founder that they really vibe with. There's just so much that goes into building a business today that one person can't have it all covered. It's really, really tough. And so I've really like thrived off of having amazing co-founders. And so I would suggest that to anyone that's out there building a brand today.
It's also good emotional support. You need somebody to talk through, like somebody that's there for you. I think even for that alone is enough to get a partner.
I love it. And then we also had another question about TikTok. So their eye was caught on your TikTok with creating an engaging content and distributing that across social channels, and asking if you could dive into that strategy.
Wait, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, they said, Glamnetic has caught their eye on TikTok in terms of creating engaging content and distributing. If you could dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, right now the way that we've done it, we have like one manager for the TikTok that's responsible for the content. And then she actually hires out other creators. It's because I realize like we need more content on TikTok. I think it is quality, and it's definitely like about the concepts that go viral on TikTok. But it's also about the volume, because it's sort of like very hit or miss. Sometimes like it'll do well, sometimes it won't. It's really hard to tell. And so the more volume, the better. And so then we basically have like 3 other creators on the platform for us that we like pay them monthly, and then they provide content for us depending on how often they want to do it. And sometimes we'll add more people to just sort of meet like a minimum of like maybe 3 or 4 posts a day on TikTok. And they'll be creating content, you know, obviously just for Glamnetic, like on specific products that we want. We'll have like prompts for them that change. Like if we're doing a launch, we make them do content on that. And then we'll have them come up with their own ideas on like what's trending right now and what should we sort of have, sort of videos should we be creating. And then one thing that's been doing really well for us is like TikTok, what is it? series. So like we'll do like, oh, this is a cat eye, this is a dog eye. Like, I don't know, she'll do like that eye. Like it's like random like eyeliner hacks or whatever, eyeliner looks with our Glamnetic magnetic liner. And so she'll kind of like tie in our products into sort of like trending series. And then if one thing in that series does well, then basically all of the videos do well in that series. And that's what we found. And so we'll just try a bunch of that stuff. So it's a lot of like trial and error. The name of the game is like volume of content, and quality also matters. But volume is really important. I emphasize that because I think a lot of people just like make one and they're like, it's not going viral, like, and then they get defeated. That's just, you just move on. Like you move on to the next thing and you just keep going. And then eventually something will pop. So I think it's just through the sheer amount of volume that we put out, something's bound to go viral.
On TikTok specifically, you mean? Or
yeah, on TikTok. On TikTok specifically, ads, it used to be that way. Now it's a lot more like emphasis on quality versus quantity. Because before, like last year, it was insane how many ad iterations we were putting out. And so, yeah, but on TikTok, definitely.
I think one thing that's really important too, from a social perspective early on, if you're a founder, is setting what the core pillars are for your brand on social. So I think you obviously want to make sure it ties back to what the mission and the brand of your company is, but it's figuring out, okay, we're going to have X amount of content dedicated to education about the product. We're going to have X amount of content dedicated to the founder story and talking about like the business and business update, and X amount about, you know, actual product shots. And I think like really laying that out and thinking through what's the format of the way that you're going to represent your social is super important, and writing out a strategy for it.
I agree. We kind of do the same thing with the talent that we manage. We create different pillars and we're like, okay, stay in your lane, stay in this lane. So I think any brand that's on social media, whether it's a person or, you know, an actual product, I think should really do that. That's a great tip. Speaking of influencer marketing, I know you guys have done unpaid, paid, you know, graduated over the years. Can you talk a little about, you know, when you should do paid, when you should, you know, just do gifting, maybe talk about affiliates and how that's helped, and why each type of influencer marketing is beneficial to the business?
For sure. Yeah, I think brands go in different phases, of course. And so in the beginning, we had a really big emphasis on the gifting side of things, and gifting's still a really, really important part of our business. And I think in the beginning, it's about finding influencers that you can gift that align with what your business is and think that represent the product well and will speak about it in the right way. And also, to Anne's point, provide what brands desperately need, which is lots of content, right? And so it's a really fair trade because you're helping showcase the creators on your Instagram feed and on your socials, and they're getting free product and you're providing content. And so it's a pretty serendipitous relationship. As we've scaled the business, we did start to look to more long-term paid partnerships with influencers, and kind of the same thing holds, which is they need to, you know, align with our brand. The audience kind of needs to line up with who we think the Glamnetic audiences, if they're going to represent it, they're going to educate consumers on the product the right way. And we really focus on more of a holistic partnership that, you know, includes, it could be Instagram, it could be a YouTube partnership. A lot of times it includes, media rights and ads as well. And it's really hard to judge it based on just a 1-to-1 ratio. So a lot of times you can't look at it as you had this paid partnership where it was X amount of money and we got X amount back. We for sure look at that and judge that, but a lot of times it doesn't get back to break even. You really have to think about the indirect aspect of influencers as well. And I think we're in a time where attribution is becoming even harder, right? So after all the platforms lost their data, now it's not just influencers where it's hard to attribute, it's Facebook that's hard to attribute. And so you kind of have to look at everything holistically. And that goes back to making sure you have a pulse on your business. Because if you don't have a pulse, you're not understanding instinctually what's happening. But yeah, for us, it's been a real combo. And then on a select basis, like Ann can talk about this a little bit, we did a really awesome collab with Little Huddy, who's a big TikTok influencer on nails recently that was super successful. And that's kind of the next evolution of what a partnership with an influencer looks like.
Yeah, I think that was a really good partnership. Honestly, like I think a lot of people didn't expect it. Because also he's a male and we're a beauty brand. And so it was like, well, they do lashes like all of a sudden. So I think it was a really good partnership because he sort of set the trend for like male nails. I don't know if you guys have been seeing, but like ASAP Rocky, like Machine Gun Kelly, like kind of these rock stars and rappers, they started wearing like really cool, trendy like nail designs. And it's like very artistic looking, and he always had wanted to do his own nail collection actually. And we had this cool technology where basically the nails they're called semi-cured gel nails. They're basically like gel nails that you would get in the nail salon, but they would actually come in sticker form, and they would not be cured obviously because you could put them on, and then you can put them underneath a UV lamp and they'll harden and like last up to a month. And so we basically partnered up with him and did basically like 13 designs that were super, super cool, like really sick designs that he always to this day like wears. They're super easy to apply, and you can get like instant like cool rocker nails. And then they're unisex, so like males and females can wear them. And it was literally just the perfect product and the perfect person to do it with, because he sort of set the trend on TikTok for making males feel comfortable being able to express themselves through nails. And for the launch, we did this like really crazy PR box. And then we also did his launch party at Catch. And then we got a billboard like right outside of Catch of his face. And it's like Glamnetic X Little Huddy. And that was his first billboard ever. And then he invited all of his friends, which included basically all the big like TikTokers like Charlie D'Amelio, Dixie, and Noah, and like basically all of the TikTokers were there at the we rented out like a private dinner room. And it was just like everything went so well, and it was such an amazing moment, I think, for the brand, because I think it put us on the map in that demographic, because that wasn't the demographic we were necessarily targeting. Our demographic is more like late 20s, early 30s, and what females. And so now we were targeting a much younger audience. And obviously TikTok is like the platform that sets trends and makes music go viral. And so to be sort of like put on the map there was sort of priceless, I think, for us as a brand. And not only that, but he did really well.
And I was going to say, we've obviously had an evolution in our brand, and we would have never been able to do that in the beginning. But I think when I think back to the beginning of the brand, for any early founder out there, it's, you really do need to set aside time, because it is manual, and a budget for, your cost of goods of how much you can gift, and, really go reach out and start to build your community of influencers, because over time, you really want to find the brand ambassadors who just love your product out the gate. And they're generally going to be micro influencers. They're small, but the awesome thing is, at least for Glamnetic and then INH, my other brand, we've seen these influencers grow over the years as well. So as the brands been able to grow, they've been able to grow, and they've stuck with us, and they've been like a really amazing part of that community. So it's super important to invest the time and a little bit of money in the beginning to do that.
Yeah. And I think another thing was like the social impressions that we had also from like a partnership like that was insane. Like we had Charlie D'Amelio post us and tag us in a feed post, and that usually would cost like 100 to 200K per post for free. So
that's amazing. Fantastic. And then I guess, talking about, I know we have a couple minutes left. I wanted to jump in more to bootstrapping. I know you've bootstrapped this from the ground up. You touched on it a little bit. But I think it's so impressive that as a founder, you've literally learned every aspect of the business. If you can talk about that just a little bit more, I know you touched on it earlier, but like all of the skills that you've learned throughout this journey and why it's helped you really grow this business.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, being super hands-on is really important. So being intellectually curious about everything, which I'm like always a person that asks somebody like a million questions when I meet somebody and they think they're getting interrogated, but that's just like my personality and that's just the way my brain works. And so in the same way, like in the business, I'd never done email, for example, and SMS. And that was one of the things where I had to like understand and learn, how do I track, like why does open rate matter? Like, how do I increase open rates? How do I increase conversion rates? Like, what are different levers that I can pull there creatively and on the copy? And how do I do proper, copyright, to make people want to buy something? And it was like understanding human psychology, which I had a little bit of background because I actually went to med school kind of for psychobiology. So it was like understanding human psychology and understanding what triggers people to do something. Those were the main things. I think those are the bigger pillar things to understand that I think allowed me across the board to do well in marketing. So like, and I think being able to craft together storytelling through an ad in like a 20-second or 15-second short bit was also, I think, another thing that really helped the brand grow, because I mean, we did 50 million our first year because I think a lot of it was be able to scale everything from like ads to like influencers. And that came from like the foundation of that was the storytelling behind the product and being able to express to somebody within like 10 to 15 seconds, powerfully and visually, how does this product work and why does that person need it? And we just had like instant product market fit. And being able to show that is very, very important. I think a lot of people, when they do launch a product, they just expect people to understand what it does. Mm-hmm. It's so not true. Like people are not paying attention. They have like 2 seconds to care about you, like when they're scrolling through the feed. And so you have to really powerfully like grab their attention. And for us, it was like this like this super, like thumb stopping creative of me like applying the lash on. Literally, I just dropped the lash on and it just like stuck to my eye. It's stuff like that, right? Like stuff like that I was like, how can I make this like really, really cool and make females like understand like they need this in their life. So yeah.
I think one thing too, Anne, is I remember when Anne was doing all of the content, and it gets better over time. Like I remember the first pictures I saw that Anne took and they were like, they were okay, right? And then she quickly just kept watching YouTube videos on how to take product photography. And then they got better and they got better and they got better. And the emails in the beginning were kind of rough, and then they got better and better and better. And so it just goes back to, you can learn all of these things on the internet. And then as we scaled, we did get capital, but we took capital from a debt financer, right? Because the biggest, now we have a multi-million-dollar inventory line. We use Clearco, which is I would encourage everyone to look into that, even if you're an early founder, because the hardest part of scaling a brand on the financial side when you scale is inventory requirements. But luckily now there's lots of debt partners out there that you can leverage debt to scale the brand.
Yeah, you don't need to raise money. I think the main thing is you can borrow money, right? Like money is everywhere nowadays. I mean, you're going to have to pay like interest on it, but it's better than giving away equity. So I encourage, like, that's what sort of Kevin went and looked out for. And it helped us so much in terms of just being able to scale as quickly as we did and get inventory and place POs.
Great. I know we only have like a minute left, but I want to hear from you, Kevin, about any tips, tricks, companies you like that can help with logistics, operations, everything that you work on, because it's true. You can have this great idea, but if the operations and everything that you're working on is not running,
Sure.
you're not a company.
Yeah, I know we've only got like a minute left, but I just encourage everyone to really go on YouTube if you're starting a business and look up like gross margins and look up unit economics. I think nailing down your retail price and how much you're buying the cost of goods for and having a margin that works is very, very important, because if you don't have enough margin, you won't be able to scale on the marketing side. And then I would encourage everyone to use a 3PL or fulfillment center. Probably don't try to do it yourself. We use a company called Shipmonk that we've been with since day one. That's been great. And yeah, I think just like make sure you know your numbers, because in the beginning it's a small number, but that, whatever you set your price at, and that can, as you scale, it can affect a lot of things. So really try to go into it and at least be a generalist. If you're more of a creative or in content, at least be a generalist when it comes to finance and numbers, so that you have a good idea of what it takes to scale the business.